Okay, we will now call this meeting to order. Ms. Morgan, will you please call roll?
Yes, ma'am. Chairman Langley.
Here.
Here.
Mr. Barrett.
Here.
Ms. Kirkpatrick. And Ms. Cheeves.
And we do have a quorum today, almost a full house, so that's exciting. We do have minutes from the last meeting to approve. Is there anyone who would like to bring a motion to accept these minutes? They were mailed to or emailed to us this week. No, we need a motion. Is there a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, and we do approve the minutes from August 23rd meeting. Joel, we do have the old business of the certificate of appropriateness for Mr. Rouse. Is that still tabled at this point?
It is, I believe, was held. Is that correct, Lisa? It was, I believe, held at this meeting, or
It says tabled July 26, 12, so I don't know if that's...
I believe it was held over to, should have been at your last meeting, but we did not have a quorum at the last meeting, so
Okay.
it was not addressed at that point.
Okay.
We haven't received anything from Mr. Rouse stating his intention. You may, just so that it's off of your agenda, table it indefinitely, and that would require, at such time as Mr. Rouse wants to bring it back up, somebody bring it off the table by motion. So that would remove it from your agenda until such time as he's ready.
Okay, hearing the recommendation of Mr. Duke, is there anyone who would like to make a motion to table the certificate of appropriateness? Very good. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye. Chair votes aye, and we do table this indefinitely until he decides to notify the planning department. Okay, we've got a full house out here today. Thank you for that. Please make sure your cell phones are turned off, and on the commission up here as well. And then whenever it is your time to come up, if you will come up to Ms. Morgan, sign in. I believe you put your address and such on there as well, and then we will be happy to hear you. Mr. Duke, would you like to come first? And we've got a request for a certificate of appropriateness for alterations exterior at 120 West 4th Street, Christopher Booth, petitioner.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Booth is the owner of the property, but the petitioner is Miss Lisa Flournoy. I believe she has either a contract on the house or an intention to purchase the house, and is requesting several changes to the exterior of the house. And we'll just kind of run through those, and then if it's okay with you, we'll let Ms. Flournoy make whatever presentation she needs to make, and then we'll, as has been your practice in the past, dissect each one of those separately. But talking about a removal of the existing siding, there's the house has been skinned in asbestos siding probably sometime in the early 1900s, and she is proposing to remove that, which will reveal several different types of clapboard siding, and several places where there is some mismatched siding where the house has been added onto and altered over the years, and she's proposing to replace any damaged or mismatched with a consistent board. And then she's looking to remove and replace several of the windows while retaining some on the front facade. And then we're talking about a rebuilding of the existing porch, or excuse me, putting a new wooden porch over the existing concrete and brick porch, and replacing the metal railing that's there and columns there with wood railing and columns. I'm talking about the addition of a handicapped accessible ramp to the east side of the porch and the east side of the house, and then replacement of the existing doorway with a doorway that includes a side light and possibly a fan light above the door. above the door. Be glad to answer any questions. There, in the packet, there are several pictures that show the structure and then Ms. Flournoy's proposed alterations. This one is a fairly complicated submission. Would encourage you to break it up as you have in the past and deal with each individual element.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Duke. Is there anyone who has questions at this time for Mr. Duke? Okay, thank you. Would we like to go ahead and make a motion to separate these items just right off the bat?
I so move.
Is there a second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, and we will look at these step by step and piece by piece. Now, who is Ms. Flournoy? You are. Come on up. And just sign in with Ms. Morgan, please.
I thank y'all for being here today.
Thank you. And if you would like to just go through the things that you would like and, keep it as brief as possible, and then we will try to make ours as concise as possible and get everyone in and out in a timely manner today.
All right, thank you. Basically, it's a great house. You'd never think that, but when I went under it and when I went in it and when I researched it, it's a beautiful house. It's got 10 by 10 heart pine seals all the way around it. It's old first growth wood. There's very little new wood left on it. I want to replace bad wood with good wood. I'm fortunate. My brother owns a company. We only deal in antique heart pine, cypress, wood like that, and we have our own sawmill. So we can mill and make anything to match what is on the house. The bad siding, it just needs to go away and put new siding on. I don't want to make the house something that it's not. I want to make it something that it was. And I want to make it a safe home for me and my mom to live in. That's our intent. Now, I've got a copy of mine, and sorry for it being so complicated. I'm on page 2 that's got the diagrams and the pictures. I talk about windows here. I've got a solid wood replacement window, which I'll have a casing made. Marshall Lumber in Montgomery specializes in custom making these windows for just this type of project. It's solid wood. The front of the house has 3 windows on the sides, 2 on one on the other. They're 9/9. I intend on keeping 9/9. I don't want to change anything like that. Now, the very front windows are existing. They operate. They appear to be very close to what was 1860, which is, we think, the date of this house. So I choose to just leave them where they are. They work. There are pictures in here of them. Going from 18 foot from the very front of the house back on each side, you have a hodgepodge of windows that you've never seen anything like this. They are mobile home windows that are caulked in. They don't even slide. There's this window, that window. I just want to go back with a uniform size window down the sides of the house and to the back. I'm not looking to complicate things. I would like them, the ones on the sides, I would like them to be as energy efficient as possible because it is a home. That's the windows. Any questions? Did I explain it? Would you like me to bring the heavy wood window up so you can
No,
see
you're
it?
good, thank you. Okay, thank you. You can go on to the next.
Okay. The next, the front door. The front door is obviously not original. It's not a brand new door. It's not a really old door. It's a wood door. And in all fairness, and researching this more and looking behind it, this is the size. So I believe what I'd really like to do at this point in time is use what is there. It is a beautiful, solid wood door. So there are photographs of it in your package, and that's where I am with that. How do you feel about that?
Now, on our information, it says that you would like to add the side light windows.
Yes, I was looking at that because I thought that was what was originally there. But the more I poked and prodded, that's not what was there. So, like I said, I don't want to make this house something it's not. This was a middle, low-class working man's house. That's fine with me.
Okay. I'm glad you recognized that, because that was one issue that I had, was, with the side
I'm there.
lights. So good.
I'm there.
Okay, thank you. And to the next.
Okay, this is where we really need to work together on a handicap ramp. I live in a house now that had a handicap ramp built after we moved in, because before there was just a piece of plywood and some 2x4s, and you kind of like had to hold the brakes on the whole time. And it's not very appealing to me. We need a handicap ramp. We need it. My mother is in a wheelchair. She has a government-issued wheelchair. She has a government-issued handicap placard. So we definitely qualify for a handicap ramp. I would like to make this appear not to be a ramp. My idea to do that would be to, of course, it has to be 42 inches. And living in a Hart Pine house, you need to be able to get out the front and you need to be able to get out the back. So I just want to incorporate what appears to be a wraparound, maybe disguise it like a porch. And I would like to attach this to the house using screw and lag bolts and decking screws so that in the future it can be removed and it doesn't have to be a permanent fixture of the house. I want the ramp, of course, it's such a high elevation that we have to go to. It's going to have to be several feet long, so it's going to go down the sides of the house.
Why don't you go ahead and present the next one, and then we'll have Mr. Duke come up
Yeah, he can
and
do
and
what?
clarify some things for us, and then we may have some questions for you.
Okay. Of course, here I talk about my landscaping to conceal the handicap ramp. And we were fortunate enough that somebody had donated some beautiful evergreens to us. And with the weather changing, we went ahead and put them in the front to give an idea of how it was going to disguise the ramp. But unfortunately, I didn't have time to bring pictures. I don't know if any of you have had a chance to look at the house, but aren't they beautiful? We're very lucky. The front porch, oh my gosh. A previous owner has formed and poured a concrete front porch over the original wood porch. The concrete porch has sunk. Now, at first I thought it was only 6, but as I looked under the siding, it's 10 inches below where it needs to be. I have the resources, I have the beautiful wood, and I only know that it had to be a wood porch on that house in the beginning. I just want to build a simple wood porch back on the front, the same size that is there now. And where the front supports are for the porch roof is the rusted out metal. You can see the squares where the columns were. It's very obvious. I want to put the plain Tuscan tapered round columns back on the corners. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And is there still more, or have we
Well,
covered?
I talk about a gable window vent here as well, and I researched that, and that was not there and should not be there.
Okay.
So I was incorrect with that. I think that's all.
Okay. Mr. Duke, if you don't mind, if you will come up with any recommendations and allow the commission to have the opportunity to question you. The analysis was quite clear on many of these as well, so.
I think the best way to go through it really is to talk about as I said before, each item separately. And Ms. Flournoy, you can stay up here. And the main reason is because if they have a question and you answer it back there, this is going on tape and is on the internet. So we'll make sure we get everybody's comments
I'm
on.
kind of used to that.
Get everybody's comments on the mic. As far as removing the siding, make sure I'm clear, like we discussed before, you're going to remove it all. And anything that needs to be replaced is going to be replaced. And where you had mismatch, basically patches that were put in, you're going to come back and take those out and create a seamless siding.
Correct. The fireplaces on either end was added at some point in time. In order for them to do this, they cut the walls open, built the fireplace, and then patched back with very inadequate materials, which is decayed mostly. Plus, it wasn't the right size. The correct size of clapboard on this is it's a 5/8 by 6. And my intent on these places where they've butchered it and cut into it and patched it back with whatever is to go ahead and put, of course, the long runs from 2 by to 2 by and make it look like what I believe the front is going to look like when I remove the siding.
Sure. And that proposal is definitely consistent with your guidelines, and your guidelines don't speak a whole lot to siding, but if you're going back with like material, and the real question would be if she was looking to use something like a more modern material like hardy plank or something of that. Obviously, that's not a desirable product. So that is certainly in keeping with your guidelines. The second item, dealing with the windows, and make sure I understand you correctly, since we talked about it several times, is the front windows will not change. They will just be rehabbed.
Correct.
And then there is a window on either side just around the corner on
1 and 2.
right.
Correct.
That will not be really altered, or will be.
They have to be.
Have to be. Okay, let's make sure I have a picture
One
of
of
those.
these is a mobile home aluminum window that's just being caught. You've seen this. It's scary. This is the product for replacement. However, it will be a 9/9. It's a 38-inch wide window by an 82 tall window. It's as big as a door. But there is one existing, what appears to be an original window, and that is the size.
Okay. I'm going to use this picture if it's okay, Madam Chair. The top picture here shows the windows that will remain on the front facade, and then this is the window on the front on the west side.
That's the mobile home window.
Right. This one's coming out.
Yes.
And then is this one staying on the east side?
It has to be rebuilt, refurbished, but that is the size and that is the style. That is the close to original that's there.
Okay. So every other window, though, in the building is proposed to be replaced with something consistent with this style that's been presented. And I believe that is also in keeping with your guidelines to hopefully replace some windows that have not been well cared for in the past. And your guidelines would allow for something other than wood as long as it had similar appearance to the wooden window, but certainly wood is okay. So
I like wood.
so I think that would be, well, in keeping with your guidelines. Certainly keeping the front windows and keeping that front facade consistent with what's been there is a good choice. Let's see. Next item I have in the report deals with the front porch and the replacement of the concrete porch with a wood porch and adding the columns and the railing. And again, that is also consistent. This house, although very simple, is what we would call a Gothic revival style house. And Ms. Flournoy, I'm sorry, did I say? Pardon me, Greek. You're correct. I wrote Greek in the report. How about that? Ms. Flournoy has several pictures that are consistent with houses in the district that are of that style. What's known as the Sladen House on First Street is a good example of that style, and you can see the columns that are on that house in her pictures, and certainly those are double columns, and I think you're proposing just single. And some type of railing that is consistent with that style would be appropriate. The handicapped ramp is proposed and I'm sorry, Ms. Flournoy, I'm still I think a little unclear on whether or not there would be a doorway added to the east side of the house.
Correct.
Okay. So, find your layout here. So, and I'm looking at this drawing here. This is in the supplement to the application. So there would be a doorway added.
Correct.
On the east side of the building. Where would the ramp begin? I'm unclear on that.
The ramp would, okay. Diagram is not quite right. The door moves more towards the back of the house. The ramp, actually, what I would like for it to do is in the center of the long side of the house, I would like for it to go down. Therefore, you can go to the front door and to the back door.
So the landing would be basically
Correct.
in the middle of the house.
Yes, and that door comes back. It's in the wrong place.
Okay, so you'd be looking at a ramp that goes up towards the front of the house and then up towards the back of the house from the level or at grade landing here in the center of the house. And the style of the ramp would be consistent with the railing that's going on the front porch? Or?
Yes, actually, the ramp railing would definitely match the railing on the front porch. It will be, I call that elegant. And 4x4s.
And ramps are consistent with your guidelines as long as they're not, you're not altering the main structure to add the ramp. And this ramp would be as little impact on the front facade as possible, and that is also consistent with your guidelines.
What did you say about not attaching it to the? How are you going to attach it to the house? To the house?
I would like to attach it using 2x8s, 2x10s, lag bolted into the seal of the house, and then the ramp the ramp board, the deck boards go on top of that. Everything is screwed together. Therefore, in the future,
You could remove it.
if anybody wanted to remove it,
Okay.
it comes right out.
I thought that's what you said.
I have a question about your side entrance.
Yes.
If you're on what kind of incline, this is curiosity, to get into that doorway, you're going to have to adjust your ramp.
Yes, Ms. Kirkpatrick, it goes back further to the back of the house, so the ramp levels off before you get to the
Oh,
doorway.
okay.
It does. I just drew, my illustration's incorrect.
Yeah, I see. The door's further back. Yeah.
Yes, the door's further back.
Well, you got a lot of distance. Is it 42 inches?
It's 42 inches is ADAH guidelines for wheelchair, for the arms and the hands, so you don't,
Oh, width. Oh,
yes, the
okay.
width.
I understand.
And item 5 that was in the original staff report has basically been taken care of, has been essentially withdrawn since the door will not be altered, and the side light and the fan light will not be added. So,
Okay, Commissioners, are there any questions in regards to any of these requests of Ms. Flournoy or Mr. Duke? They have done a very good job in explaining, and Mr. Duke has done a great job with his analysis, both written and verbal, so thank you. Yes, Ms. Kirkpatrick?
No.
No? Okay. Anybody? Okay, thank you. You may be seated. Okay, let's deal with the first request, removing the existing siding to reveal the clapboard siding underneath. Is there a motion to approve this request?
So moved.
Okay, Mr. Barrett and Mr. Price? All right. Call for a vote. All in favor, say aye. Chair votes aye, and we will approve request number 1. Request number 2, remove and replace existing windows. Is there a motion to approve this request?
So move.
Is there a second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, and we have approved request number 2. Item number 3, rebuild the existing brick and concrete porch with a new wooden porch. Is there a recommendation that we accept, or a motion, I'm sorry, that we accept this request?
I have a question there. Will you bring it up those 10 inches?
Yes,
So it'll be the level of your,
that's correct.
gotcha. Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion?
So moved.
And a second? Okay, all in favor say aye. Chair votes aye, and we have approved this one as well. Okay, the last item is the handicap ramp. Is there a motion at this time to approve this request?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, and that has been approved as well. Mr. Duke, do we need to do anything official to withdraw item number 5, or it's just good to? Okay.
excuse me. As long as you don't make a motion to do anything with it, it's basically
Okay,
done away
it
with.
just is
So,
gone. Okay, all right, very good. Ms. Flournoy, thank you so
Madam
much.
Chairman?
Yes, oh, excuse me, yes.
I would just like to thank Ms. Flournoy for what she's doing to improve the downtown.
Thank you very much. I look forward to being a part of it.
Good.
And we'll be watching.
You'll be a great neighbor. Thank you. Okay, I would like to rearrange the order of the request, if that's okay, Ms. Davis.
Okay.
And let's go ahead and take care of the certificate of appropriateness for 147 East Main Street. Howell, Sarto, Howell, and Taylor is the petitioner. And I presume that Colonel Howell, come on up, if you don't mind signing in with Ms. Morgan. And Ms. Flournoy, you're welcome to leave. You don't. Yes. This is so exciting, you may want to stay, but you will not hurt our feelings if you slide out.
We've been in this building building since 1976, and I feel like we're part of the history of this town. And my young partner here, Logan's going to present this sign to you that we want to put up.
I began working with Colonel Howell, I guess this summer, probably in June. My name's Logan Taylor. My wife and kids and I moved to Prattville in May. Really are enjoying our time here. I met Colonel Howell and started working together, formed a partnership in a law practice in his existing building at 147 East Main Street. We were, from day one, we were discussing a sign. And we really liked Dr. Nichols' sign, which is across the street from us, a little ways down. We kind of patterned our sign after his. It will be the white. Ours is a bigger sign. It's 4 by 8, but it's the white sign with the black lettering with the gold Howell, Sarto, Howell, and Taylor. We have the sign. We've had it since I guess mid-August in our office, and we would frame the sign very similarly to Dr. Nichols, using some cedar wood, just make it look very presentable, and then have it anchored in the ground with some 4x4 posts similar to Dr. Nichols, and it will be framed out also. And we've spoken to a few contractors about doing that, and that's very doable. The sign will be located, I have a diagram that we submitted, but I guess an aerial photograph. The Baptist Church has an easement, that gravel road that comes out on Main Street. The sign will be 3 feet, I believe what I have, from the end of our parking lot, from the edge of our parking lot, and it will face, it's a 2-sided sign, so you'll be able to see it going north or south, or east and west.
Okay, we'll let Mr. Duke come up and then see if we have any questions for you. Thank you.
Signs are pretty straightforward in your guidelines. You have specific standards, and frankly, on Main Street and others, we try to look at how the house was built or the building was built, whether it was a residence or whether it was a commercial building. And my history with Prattville is not long enough to know exactly how this one was built, or I wasn't able to find it in the record, but we look at it more as a residential structure originally. Understanding that since the 70s it's been a law office, but your guidelines there really talk about signage being, if possible, pretty much low mount, that it being in scale, proportion with the property, simplicity in design. The sign that was presented as an example, Dr. Nichols' sign that is consistent with those guidelines, and generally the sign that's proposed by Howell, Sarto, Howell, and Taylor is consistent with those guidelines. The only thing that is somewhat different than Dr. Nichols' sign is as far as scale. This sign, and I apologize, I have it in a report here, is 32 square feet roughly, and Dr. Nichols' sign is about 12 and a half square feet. So there's a little difference in that as far as the size. You do have several signs. If you look on First Street, you have several signs that are somewhat larger. The Dog Days pet grooming that you approved earlier this year, a couple of them along the old Pratt Village are of this size. So that's something you need to be aware of, is that scale is important, but as far as the material, this type of sign that's proposed is basically consistent. I didn't hear any mention of lighting. Will there be any lighting on the sign? No. Okay, so that is also consistent with your guidelines. If it were illuminated, you want that to be external illumination, and you have some examples in your guidelines as to how that should be provided. So, but that's not the case here. So, be glad to answer any questions.
Mr. Duke, I do have one question. I know that we have specifications according to the scale when the sign is attached onto the building.
Right.
But that does not necessarily apply when the sign is external to the building. Is that correct?
It's something you should consider, especially if the lot is much smaller.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if this is a fairly good-sized lot, so that's not as important. But and you also want to look at the presentation to the street. While the old gas company building is not historic, it's a good example. It has a very narrow presentation to the street. So a larger sign, the only place you could put that would be to hide the building. So that's where you'd be looking at scale. Is
Okay.
would you be allowing something that covers up buildings that you're trying to protect? The gas company is probably a really bad example because that's not a historic building.
Yeah, we know that. Uh-huh.
Trying to protect, but if you're looking at examples for scale, it's a pretty good example.
Okay.
But that's not the case here.
What is the height?
That's a question.
I believe the specification will be no higher than 8 feet mounted. Top of the sign.
Okay, so
And no higher than 8 feet, and most likely no higher than 7 feet, and
Okay.
probably in between 6 and 7 feet is the plan.
There was a mention of the easement that the Baptist church has through there. Is there a lot of traffic through there, and would there be any visual obstruction if that traffic through there?
From the easement that the Baptist church has, you was questioning.
How much traffic?
Would restrict the visibility of traffic. How much traffic?
No, it wouldn't bother me.
It wouldn't have been
No.
a problem streetwise, entering the street.
They don't use that easement anymore anyhow. They're long since abandoned. They bought the whole lot next to us. And that's all their parking lot. They come in and out of it. They don't use our easement anymore.
Now, how far is it from the sidewalk or the street? Is it in there? I'm sorry. 17 and a half.
basically the
They mark where we're supposed to put it, so we'll put it where they mark it.
okay. Yeah, that's what's going to happen is if this is approved, it's also going to have to meet zoning, and zoning for a low mount sign like this requires that it be at least 10 feet off of the edge of pavement. Where they're proposing it is actually 17 feet off of edge of pavement, and that puts it 7.5 feet behind the sidewalk. The sidewalk is right at the back edge of the 10 feet. The back edge of the sidewalk is 10 feet from the edge of pavement. So it would be far enough back that it's not really causing an obstruction. And I think there's a little confusion. The easement they're referring to is the driveway right next to the building. And the driveway is primarily used by the church now is the vacant lot adjacent to Howell, Sarto, and Howell.
With the gravel road.
Right. But it has a brand new sidewalk, if you had noticed.
It's metal.
So it's a metal sign framed in with a wood framing. Okay. I do think that we are going to need a more specific height. Is there anyone who would like to ask any questions in regards to that?
I would. Questions about, and this is probably more geared toward Joel. With regards to the sign, our rules for signs in our manual, there's no. Item number 3 says new signs should be scaled to be in proportion to the property, but we're talking about scale. Is there a specific scale that we're referencing, or is it just an arbitrary? I don't think that's scaled right.
Yeah, it is. It's more one of those. If it were out of scale severely, you would know it. It's kind of more of a subjective determination. Believe me, I would like to have that much more defined, but And so what's proposed here is probably is a very good scale based on the lot
Right.
and the size of the building. The example I gave before was if you had a very narrow presentation of the street, narrow street frontage, and the majority of that was taken up by the sign, that would be, in my opinion, out of scale. But that's not the case here.
Is there a maximum height requirement for signs?
Under zoning, there is a maximum height. There's an 8-foot maximum for a low mount sign, and then there's a 20-foot maximum for a high mount sign.
This would be a low mount sign.
This would be considered a low mount sign.
Should we make a,
We just want so when people driving by can see it. We don't want them to have to look up like that.
right, should we make an amendment to make it say that it would be no higher than 8 feet? No more than 8.
Don't want any more than that anyhow.
Right. Well, I mean, I don't think you can do that with a low mount, so
Right.
I don't know if we need to make an amendment.
If it's in the zoning laws.
Joel, I'm sorry. Do you know, offhand, do you remember is it the dog days that we approved? Is that an 8-foot sign as well? I'm just trying to picture, that seems awfully high to me for the downtown area. I don't know. I'm just trying to get something to parallel that so I will have a better vision of that.
That is probably right at 8 feet. But yes, ma'am. They're pretty similar in area, but this one will certainly be noticeably wider than it is tall. Yes, ma'am.
Do we know how high Dr. Nichols' sign is?
Yes, I do. Hold on just a second. Just give me a moment, please. Let's see. Dr. Nichols' sign is no higher. It is right at 5 feet. Given the type of street that this is on, there's really no advantage in being very high at all. I mean, they're right. That's what I figured. So, I think just if you mount it high enough that there's enough space underneath the sign that it doesn't look strange, sitting on the ground. This is a 4-foot sign. 6 feet is, in my opinion, adequate. You could go higher and still meet city zoning, but that's certainly a call for the commission.
I believe it was Mr. Taylor that even said 6 to 7 feet. No more than 8, but 6 to 7 was what you were
We understand
shooting
the
for.
regulation of being the cap is 8 feet, and we don't plan on being any higher than that. Most likely, we're looking at, I'm 6 foot, the sign is 4 feet, so, it would, the bottom of it would look maybe a little funny at 6. I think at 7 would probably pretty good. So if we would, if you'd like, we'd amend our application to a maximum, no higher than 7 feet.
Okay, are there any questions or any discussion regarding that, commissioners?
Do we need a motion to accept?
It doesn't. It's just
gotta
his
go back to
request
Greg.
is, yeah. Well, but there's no height provided. I don't think there's been any agreement made of the height anyway.
That was not a motion.
Yeah, it was just a discussion, so, yeah. Okay, so 7 feet is something that you
We will not
would,
exceed 7 feet in
okay.
height.
Okay, I think that will definitely be a good compromise there. If there are no questions, is there a motion at this time to accept this proposal? Is there a second?
Second.
With a 7-foot height. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye and approved.
Thank you.
Maximum 7 feet.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for coming. Good to see you, Colonel Howell. Okay. We will move on now to the certificate of appropriateness for a sign for Trustmark Bank, being the petitioner. I presume that's you. You can come on up. Thank you. And if you'll sign in. Thank you for coming, and if you will just explain to us what your request entails, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. My name is Polly Talley, and I'm with Mitchell Signs. And we have been working with Trustmark Bank for a number of years and with them on their conversions, and they are in the process of buying Bank Trust. And everything is in the process of being finalized, and we're hoping to start sign branding probably next year. But we have proposed their standard sign package, and if you look through, you will see on the front we're kind of going back with like for like. There's an existing 20-foot pylon, so we were hoping to go back with Trustmark's 20-foot pylon. And this is the design that they use in all of their advertising, branding, so it's very important to them. I don't know if you're familiar with Trustmark Bank. They're based out of Jackson, Mississippi. And in lots of their TV advertisement, any kind of billboard advertising that they do, you'll see them use this pylon in a lot of the print advertising. So it's, that's their brand recognition. And they're excited about moving into the Alabama market because this is a very new market for them. So brand recognition is very important to them. So that is why they're hoping to stay with, their existing sign, so that existing customers will recognize them if they're in the market, and then, when you go out of state, they'll get used to seeing the same brand. But on the building, we are proposing just like for like on the building. It's the existing letters are just non-illuminated, routed letter sets that are pin-mounted, removing those and putting back up the same type letters. And then for the directionals, we are proposing directionals, and they are actually a little bit smaller than the existing directionals, I think by maybe 1 square foot, but this is also their typical brand that they use. Then on the rear elevation, we did propose a sign that is not currently on the rear elevation of the building. We were just hoping to kind of dress it up. It's kind of plain. If you come in from the back, you just see the building, and it's just real plain up there. So we would like to add just the logo in the gable. It's non-illuminated. And then also on the back entrance, there's an existing pylon that I believe is about 26 feet tall. And right now it's parallel to the road, and my guess is that they were just trying to maybe catch the traffic that's coming in from 14 from Selma. The bank would prefer to go back with a monument at that entrance, just at 10-foot height back there, and then turn it back perpendicular to the road instead of parallel. And that's about it as far as the sign package that we have proposed for it.
Okay, thank you. And we'll have Mr. Duke come up with an analysis, and then we'll probably call you back up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It seems to be a very hot subject, changing out signs for banks that are changing over downtown, but this seems like a discussion that we had a couple of months ago concerning Hancock Bank. In your commercial guidelines, you in the report, you see the commercial guidelines for signs. If you have a copy of the guidelines, that's page 29. The guidelines really call for these signs to be of traditional materials such as wood, glass, or copper or bronze, installed on facades. Of course, again, back to proportional to the buildings, and then color coordinated with the building, and then lighting should be external and concealed. We have a little different issue here in that this building has had this type of signage, this proposed for several years, probably since it was Citizens Bank originally. Y'all may need to help me out. I believe that the current facade on the building was added sometime after the original building. It didn't have a gable roof or a faux gable roof as it does now. I believe that the sign package that's proposed, looking at the building signage, that is definitely consistent with your guidelines as far as being just the logo and the letters and non-illuminated, and the placement, basically where the existing signage is consistent with your guidelines.
Okay, that's item number 3. Is that correct? Tall, non-illuminated logo and letter signs on the front facade.
It's basically item 3 and 4.
And 4 as well, okay.
4. Those are both mounted on the gable facades.
Okay.
The larger one in the front, and then where there's not a sign, as Ms. Talley mentioned, in the back, they're looking at just adding a logo.
Okay.
The two pylon signs, the removal of the pylon sign in the back and the replacement of the pylon sign in the front, that's something that you need to look at, and I think you need to look at that against your guidelines, but also against past practices. Hancock Bank is probably a pretty good guideline as to what you might want to consider. But your guidelines look at those signs as being externally illuminated. This would be a internal illumination, somewhat of definitely a modern sign instead of something historic. But I don't know that this building has ever had much in the way of historic signage. So, that's where you need to look at context as much as your guidelines and the history of the property.
Okay, are there any questions for Mr. Duke? No? Thank you. Anything else you'd like to say?
No, ma'am. I will say that, just like the discussion we had about Howell Sarto and Howell and Taylor across the street, you really requested that they have a low mount monument sign, and I think that would probably be appropriate in this location as well.
Do we know, Joel, or Mr. Duke, I'm sorry, do we know the height of, what is it? What bank is
Hancock.
this? Hancock, I'm sorry. Do we know the height of their monument style
It's
signs?
I'm going to say it's at 10 feet. It might be even a little higher.
Even their
Yeah, I think it's
even
probably,
their smaller ones are? Don't they have varying heights? Or was this the bank we approved previous to this one?
Well, you may be thinking about Whitney and their
Maybe
sign
so.
package the first time.
Okay.
But
Yeah, we've done this several times, so.
the Hancock sign, I think Ms. Talley mentioned that just now that it might be a 12-foot sign. I think she's right about that.
Okay.
But that was really bringing it down from the 20-foot.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason that was considered there is that it had always been some type of pylon sign.
Mm-hmm.
And
I was just curious as to what the height was.
when it was the Bank of Prattville, it was actually a clock there.
Mm-hmm.
That,
Okay. Okay, any questions? Thank you.
Sure.
Ms. Talley, you may like to go ahead and come up, and we'll probably have a few questions for you. Just let us get our bearings here and look over this for just a moment.
No problem.
I have a question.
Okay.
The pylon sign that's going in, that you're proposing, that is, I guess that's replacing the old bank trust sign that's there?
Right. It
How
would
tall
be-
is that existing bank trust
The
sign?
existing bank trust is 20 feet as
Okay.
well. The one on the front, the one on the back elevation is actually, I think, about 26 feet, so it's even taller. Yes, the one on the very front is 20 feet.
And what is it made of?
It is aluminum.
Okay.
The face is actually aluminum with routed copy, and then it's plex back and illuminated, just like the Hancock Bank sign. The Hancock Bank is aluminum routed with plex back and internally illuminated as well.
Okay. Joel, I don't exactly know how to go about doing this. If I know that we clearly in our guidelines we try to stay away from internally lit signs. That would definitely be one thing that we would want to, develop some sort of compromise, I think, towards that. But I don't know, as far as me presenting this, do we go to the trouble of actually passing the gavel to discuss this? Because I know I'm really not supposed to bring these sorts of things up. Are we informal enough that I can say that, or would you prefer?
Well, it's certainly up to you as the chair. If you feel like you're going to have, the general rule of thumb is if it's just a comment to move the process along,
Okay.
that's fine without passing
Okay.
the gavel. If you're going to get into the discussion and make proposals and all of
Okay.
that, then you probably need
Okay.
to move it to the chair, the
Okay.
co-chair, the vice chair.
Okay. Well, I would just like to go ahead then, and I think safely be able to bring that to the table here for you all to discuss, is that this is clearly something that we try to stay away from. So if you would like to, we're going to have to deal with this.
The Hancock Bank sign is internally illuminated, correct?
It is. And this face is made basically, it's exactly the same. The whole entire face is not illuminated, just like Hancock Bank. The only part that illuminates at night is the logo and the word. And that's how these signs would be. So it's not like you have this big blaring face up there, this big blue, box that's illuminated.
I guess my question is, in that proceeding, was there a special circumstance or the reason why they had an internally illuminated sign, or was it just granted?
It may have been kind of granted because it was there before. I don't know. Joel, would you? There is something to say about the precedent, but we still try to stay true to what our guidelines are as well.
The reasoning, if I remember correctly, on the Hancock Bank was that they had just recently received approval for the sign package on the Whitney Bank, and that was what was proposed by Mitchell Signs, in fact, for Hancock, was very consistent with what had just been approved by this commission for Whitney Bank. And if y'all recall, newer members, that was a several meeting ordeal. I think in 2010, went back and forth as to what would be allowed there, and generally the reasoning was that you would look for ways to bring the signage more in keeping with your guidelines as far as appearance, but recognizing that the properties were not necessarily historic in nature and that they had been altered many times. You really have to be careful in how you do that, but you also have to be, I think, consistent. Adding a sign, say, to Howell Sarto and Howell Sarto, Howell and Taylor, where there had never been a sign other than the wording on the front of the building, need to be as consistent with your guidelines as possible. Where you've had these signs here, you might want to look for ways to kind of bring it closer. In the case of the Hancock Bank, the way you did that was to ask them that be a monument sign and go away from the 20-foot tall sign. So basically over time kind of bringing that down to more in a scale that's consistent with the downtown.
So the Hancock Bank is a monument sign.
It's not exactly what we would call a true monument sign. More of a true monument is what they're proposing for the rear access here at the Trustmark Bank, which is about 10 feet tall. It's signage all the way down to the ground. Yes, ma'am, that's it.
And then, I'm sorry, and then the ones for the front are kind of like a flag type thing. Is that
Right.
with a narrow
Generally, that's referred
posting and, okay.
to as a pylon sign,
Okay.
which is you're looking at something that's generally about 15 to 20 feet in the air. Now, from a visibility standpoint, I will tell you a monument sign is more than sufficient given the speed of traffic on Main Street, the width of the roadway. You're generally not going to miss that signage, even if it's low to the ground. In fact, the higher up it is, in my opinion, and based on studies that are out there, the higher up it is, the more likely you're going to miss it. But that might be a solution here to bring it closer to your guidelines, allow them to continue to have internally illuminated sign is come back with a monument sign, like you did with the Hancock Bank.
Well, in that way, at least we would have the consistency down through Main Street of, although we are not keeping exactly to what our guidelines propose, we do have that consistency through there.
I've struggled with the same thing. I know that banks are competitive. Of course, they're a block away. So I personally would not want to do something that would interfere with that. And more than having an internally lit sign, my concern is the pylon sign, because I'm really for low signs, and that also puts it comparable to what's at the Hancock Bank. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, would that be something that you would go back and talk to your client about, or would that be something you would be able to present today on their behalf?
I can present that today on their behalf. I mean, I'll be honest, their first choice is always their pylon, just because of the brand recognition and how prominent it is in their advertising. But more than anything, I think they would choose having it illuminated. Over,
Right. Okay. Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
What is the height of the one on Main Street?
It's 20 feet
20
currently.
feet.
Yes, sir.
And then the one you're proposing is 20 feet
It's
as well?
also 20 feet,
Okay.
yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Duke, the sign over here is, what did you tell me, possibly?
I don't know.
Maybe.
That's the best answer I know to give you without being incorrect.
Because I would personally like to see the consistency with that as well.
I would think it's probably about 12, because when I drove by it today, I know it's on a brick base. And it was, the trees were kind of hiding it that were right there. And I'm thinking it's probably 12, because I know when we did that program, they had a 12-foot, like, I think they had 8-foot and a 12-foot option. And I'm
Okay.
sure that's more than 8 foot, so I'm pretty sure it's probably 12.
And would that be something that on their behalf you could go ahead and adjust and compromise with that as well? Okay. Okay. Are there any questions?
I want to go back to the page that shows your signage, and you just walk us through it again like you did to begin with.
Okay.
With what changes?
Are you looking on this page?
Well, no, I'm looking on this page. It
Okay.
shows where they're placed on
Okay.
the area. No, we don't have that one you just held up.
Okay.
Just walk us through those signs.
Okay. On the front, we had proposed the 20-foot pylon in place of the existing 20-foot bank trust pylon.
Okay, but with the compromise changes, I think that's kind of what we want to
Okay.
parallel
Okay.
that.
Sorry.
Uh-huh.
Right, yeah.
Okay, so in place of that 20-foot pylon, we could go back with a 12-foot internally illuminated monument. And it would basically look exactly like the one that is on the back that we're showing proposed for the back elevation, just 2 feet taller. Because what we had proposed for the back was 10, and so you're just raising the base 2 more feet.
So basically, those two signs will be identical. Okay, just the height's difference.
height difference,
Okay.
yes,
A
ma'am.
monument.
Okay.
One will be illuminated. The rear one would not be illuminated.
I was hoping the rear one would be illuminated as well. I know the existing one was internally illuminated, and with it back there on that back corner, I mean, it's kind of dark back in that
It
little
is a
area.
dark corner. Okay, so that takes care of item number 1.
Okay.
Okay. And Lenore, are you good with item 3 and 4?
Well, let's go back to this page. Now, 3 and 4 are these two?
On the building.
Those are the ones that are
This
on
one
the facade.
building, and this one on First Street. Yes.
Okay. Okay, does anyone else have any questions? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank y'all.
Okay, with the proposed changes, is there anyone who would like to bring up a motion and include these changes in their motion?
I move that we issue a certificate of appropriateness for the bank with the change that in item number 1, which is the pylon sign, be that changed to a monument sign and be no more than 12 feet high. And the one in the back remains the same. I don't need to make that change. Okay, with that one change.
Okay, and we did not discuss, well, I'm sorry. A motion has been made. Is there a second? Second. Now I can bring up a discussion, right, Joel? Just a brief discussion. I just want to bring it to your attention that the back monument would be internally lit as well. We have not really discussed that. Make sure everyone is aware of that. Okay, a motion has been made and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, and items 1 through 4 have been approved. Thank you.
Madam Chairman, I request that I be recused from as a member of the commission so that I may present the next item.
Okay, if you'd like to have a seat. Thank you, Jean. Writing on our books. Okay, our next item is a certificate of appropriateness for an addition screen room, fence, retaining wall, concrete walkway. Nikki and Jean Davis, petitioners. Welcome, Ms.
Jean
Davis.
Davis.
We are glad to have you here today.
Nikki and I live at 140 North Northington Street, which is off of Wetumpka Street on the other side of the tracks. Our house was built around 1900. It has been added on to at least 3 times. Not originally, but maybe the second or third remodeling had a screen porch, which was later made into part of the house. We are requesting a certificate of appropriateness to build a screen room, move the retaining wall, and tie in the concrete walkway into the existing one. We have had major drainage problems since the property owners, who are no longer there, built a driveway, and they sloped it so that the concrete driveway sloped right onto our property, we had a little bit of a drainage problem. Now we have a major one. Nikki has solved the drainage problem under the house by building what's that thing outside?
Well, it's a drainage.
What's it?
Just like the city has, we have a grate out there.
Great, that's what I was trying to think.
Henry Bates helped me now. Don't let her
Okay.
put, I didn't do all the stuff. But
Okay.
we had to put a grate and go under the house out to put it into the branch.
And we put a pipe under there to carry that. So that solved a lot of our problems under the house. But we still have a huge problem in the back of the house. And of course, the second reason we want to do this is we would just like to enjoy having a screen room. Looking at the pictures, number one is the side of the backyard, and it's facing south.
Correct.
Yeah. So you're looking south. That chain link fence would be moved, and if you look at picture number 9, you will see the brick retaining wall there, which is a flower bed. Nothing in our house is plumb, which includes how this patio was laid out. We're going to have to straighten it up, because if you build it like it is now, it would be kind of cattywampus to the back of the house. It just wouldn't do at all. So we're going to take out that flower bed, move the retaining wall back, probably just 4 feet, and line it up with the back of the house.
3 feet 8.5 inches.
3 feet 8.5 inches. We're going to build the screen port out 15 feet or 24.
15.
Okay. And then have a patio in the back there so that we can still have a place to grill and be completely outside. You will see in pictures 2 and 3 and 4 the condition of the brick patio. It has been filled in with concrete when the bricks deteriorated. It is not level. All the bricks are whatever size they want to be, sticking up. Picture 4 shows you the corner of our house where part of it kind of sticks out a little bit. There's a flower bed there, and we just have major problems there because it catches in that corner and seeps through.
Well, let me just discuss that. In the English Tudor house where the roof comes down, and of course at the back it's flat because the porch is now the kitchen and the den. So the water comes down and comes straight out, hits right there, major water. Now, there's 24 inches down, and water was still going under there and going under the bathroom and utility room area. So Henry Bates and I dug it out and put 18 more inches of concrete underneath. And then he re-bricked it, because I can't brick with a flip. And he re-bricked it. It's still enough water there because it is in a hole. When the water comes off the house, it's still going under there, so I still have dampness under the house. So that has to be addressed as far as that's concerned, of the getting it up, because our main beam there is going to rot. And we sure don't want that to happen.
All right. The pictures following, the page following pictures 9 and 10 shows the screen porch that we're going to build. This does not show how the roof is going to be. This shows the material of the panels of screen. They have a metal kick plate at the bottom and then screen panelings. They will be about 4 feet apart. It will be white to match the house. The roof will be an insulated metal roof with a 4 and 12 slope. Right.
Yes. Which is the same as the existing kitchen and den, which used to be the porch.
And we have about 3 different roof slopes or whatever.
Because they added a bathroom and they added a utility room, and then they covered the porch to make the kitchen and den area. So it's all been, that back has all been mismatched. And we straightened that out, but then we don't have the drainage straightened out. But to get the slope exactly the same, we'll need the metal panels, and we want them insulated so you can, you're not as hot and not as cool.
Is it that top screen porch that we're looking at?
Yes. All of those are made out of the same material. They'll probably look more like the bottom one, but the door will be in the middle of the back of it. Mm-hmm. We will take that sidewalk. We will take that sidewalk and hook it to. We'll have the patio area with the sidewalk going down, and it will attach to where the sidewalk goes from the patio to the garage. We don't want to put the door of the patio of the screen room where it is now, so we'll just make the walkway meet there.
Okay, and you going to take the chain link fence down, or you going?
We're going to reposition that when we go out.
But you're going to keep it. You're just going to move it.
And have a gate there.
And keep.
Right. That's right.
And we will have a gate there.
Couldn't answer that.
I don't know if there are any dogs next door or not.
There will be a gate there,
Right.
which is not there now.
And this porch will also be mounted to the house or fastened to the house so that if at any time someone wanted to remove it, they could.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Davis. Mr. Duke, would you like to come up and bring any special questions to our attention?
I'll just go ahead and tell you that what we did in the staff report is separated it into three different items. Excuse me. Actually, 4 different items. Grouped them together. Demolition of the existing patio, retaining wall, relocation of the fence, and construction of a new patio and retaining wall. They can generally be dealt with under your guidelines dealing with fences and walls. And in most cases, anything that is not visible from the street, is in the rear of the property, your guidelines allow some significant leeway in how you treat those. And I believe what is proposed by the Davises is within keeping with those guidelines. There hasn't been a whole lot presented in the application on appearance of the replacement patio, so you may want to ask questions about that. And again, you may not if you feel that it's going to be not that visible and not that much of an issue with the historic appearance of the house. The 4th item is the main feature, which is the addition of the screen room. I did have some questions about that I mentioned in the staff report about which roof would be chosen, and I think that was basically stated by the applicants here in their presentation. And if I'm correct, I understand that the presented example, let's just call it number 3, the one at the bottom of the page. After picture 10, you have 3 screen rooms presented. that it will not have a roof with much pitch, this hip roof that's shown. That's not what's going to be there. And this one is similar, but probably number 3 here at the bottom is what they're proposing. So I think if you just reference that in your approval, that would be helpful. But as far as the location being at the rear of the house, your guidelines again state that this type of addition is appropriate at the rear of the house. You don't want an addition to necessarily mimic the historic property and look like the historic building. You want it to be obvious that it's an addition. Being off the back, it doesn't have much in the way of an impact. I think it's been stated that this is really kind of, it's not temporary construction, but it's construction that could be removed fairly easily without impacting the structure at a later date, so that's also a good thing when you're looking at the historic structure. So I would say that it's basically consistent with your guidelines, and some of the questions we had about which one they're actually constructing have been answered here this afternoon.
Are there any questions for Mr. Duke?
Well, you won't have any steps. It'll go right, the screen door will go right to the patio, or
From the
is
house.
it going to be raised?
From the house, we'll have the same, the steps will remain, so we'll step down to the screen room. And then to go out the back door of the screen room, there won't be any steps.
That's what I was, yeah.
Basically the same floor for all.
Yes,
Yeah, it'd be the same.
brick pavers. That will match the house, the bottom of the house.
Yeah, the pavers will match the color of the brick, so that yes, I mean, it's some brown, some red, some less red, some are rust colored, not like this, but in different shades. So we will also do that with the pavers. Now we have the basically red brick out there that every year we have a freeze, we end up with more pieces of brick, and with that more holes, and with that more water. On the south side, the drainage has been exacerbated or increased due to the fact that they put that driveway there, but our neighbors also built a patio over there where behind their house where the water would go out their driveway. So when it did that, and then there's also a pipe that comes out that drains that area onto our property right there. Of course, there were no building permits for any of this ever gotten, but it does pour off onto us. And, huh? So, really, we started out with Henry and I taking care of a drainage problem and decided to put a screen room around it.
That's how it usually goes. Absolutely.
That decided.
You're right. Yeah.
For the screen room, and if we went with picture 1 and 2, you could see it from the road.
Right.
Because it would be above the level of the existing roof.
Right.
But it won't be with the existing slope, which
Okay.
is 4 and 12.
Okay.
I just have one correction. That's McWilliams Branch.
Do what now?
On the city maps, it's McWilliams Branch, not the Happy Hollow Branch. I know he will. I know. I want to be sure we get that straight.
Mr. Kirkpatrick, actually, the city provided that information.
Oh, Joel. The city map says McWilliams.
Okay, let's go ahead and, is there a motion to separate these items so that we can vote on them individually? Does anyone see a need that we need to do that? Okay. Is there a motion to be made at this time then?
That it be taken as a single package, is that correct?
Well,
Is
it
that
is a
what you-
single package. It's proposed as a single package. Joel dealt with it separately, but it's, yes, it is a single package.
I move that we award them a certificate of appropriateness for the proposed changes.
Okay. A motion has been made that we do award the certificate of appropriateness with the changes of the pitch of the roof and the brick pavers for the patio. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, and this has been approved. And I personally want to apologize for all of the issues we've had in getting you here, and thank you for your patience.
The news is on.
Is there a motion at this time to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All right. All in favor say aye, and we are adjourned, and we welcome Ms. Cheeves here today.
Yes, we do.
We're glad that you joined us. Oh, Joel, I didn't give you time to speak, did I? You spoke enough. Just send us an email. Okay. Joel,
When's the next meeting? We did have when is the next meeting?
Oh, yeah, we got to discuss. I forgot to bring my calendar. Oh.
No, ma'am, you'll need to set this time so that we can allow applicants to know when the deadline is and when the meeting will actually be. And also, we have to advertise items before the meeting. So, yes, ma'am, if you could.
How do we do that? Do we call roll again?
No, ma'am, just call us back in.
Okay, we are going to come back again and discuss the meeting for the previously scheduled for Thanksgiving week.
Yes, ma'am. Your regular meeting in November actually falls on Thanksgiving. So, which is the fourth Thursday of the month. So you would need to either cancel that meeting or move the meeting, whatever is the pleasure of the board.
Question, do you know of anything that's coming up?
Pardon? We do have an application pending. If you choose to, if I might make a recommendation, I would not put it any time that week. That generally is an inconvenient time. The following Thursday would be.
Is the calendar clear in here for that Thursday? Do we know?
Most likely.
Okay.
I can't imagine that there's anything scheduled for that fifth Thursday.
Okay. So do we need to make a motion for this, Joel, that we
Yes, ma'am,
change
you do.
it? Okay. Is there a motion made that we change this to our meeting to the 29th of November?
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And our meeting will be November 29th. That will be the fifth Thursday of November in council chambers unless you're told otherwise. Anything else, Joel?
No, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. And we need a motion to adjourn again, right?
I'll move again.
Second? All in favor say aye. And we are adjourned.